Gulbakshi, I've been getting your SMSs and emails as well. So that has already started.
Is
And
Valsa also hooked up to this call?
sorry?
Valsa Naya saying this?
Yes. She's actively on this. And in
Okay.
fact, Ministry of Tourism from Rajasthan and Government of Maharashtra, actually, we both had a Zoom call, yeah,
Yes.
about 2 weeks ago to figure out how we can actually collaborate and both of us could grow together in terms of tourism and hotel industry. So that is the sector we're looking at.
Rajasthan will take away all our tourists.
We'll all have to get together now.
Right, guys, I think we are live. We have almost...
Can we start?
We can start. And we are live on YouTube channel also.
Gogi, have they got the copies of our Gmail? The minister?
I have got a certain note
Yes.
on this whole scenario. So I have got...
No, the 6 points were mentioned in that Gmail sent today.
I'll just check on that.
Or we can rattle out those points.
Yeah.
Gogi, you can start now. I think let's roll out here.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to one more webinar. This is a heart-to-heart straight talk with our dynamic and young tourism minister, Mr. Aditya Thackeray. Welcome, Mr. Thackeray, to the HREWI webinar and talk with you. I also have with me a very elaborate panel. I'll leave Jimmy to introduce that panel of my colleagues. But before that, I'll just start off before the panelists start speaking. It's just a little background I would like to give you. In the wake of our industry being virtually abandoned by the central government, now we look at the state government. Of course, we were earlier also looking at the state government, but we are looking at the state government more to give us the impetus or the stimulus or to help us. We've always maintained that, and we know Mr. Thackeray as being a friend of the industry, very pro tourism. And this was even before he was involved in politics. I remember meeting him about years ago in the mayor's bungalow, and he had so many ideas out of which he implemented immediately, which when he took over. First of all, being the 24-hour license and open all the restaurants and the malls. So fine. So the problem here persists that we're just looking at a three-pointer. We're looking at our industry is going through a huge issue. Everybody knows that. I will not elaborate on what we contribute to the to the GDP, etc. That you would be knowing. Also, my friends would elaborate later on. We need right now. We need liquidity. We need working capital. The second is we need. After that, we need. How do we need to exit from the lockdown? And the third is how do we thrive? We hear about survival, revival, thrival. Right now, our issue is only survival, because if we do not survive, we cannot revive and we cannot thrive. Another basic point which everybody must understand is that although we are recognized or even given the name of or nomenclature of an industry, we haven't been recognized as one. Although there is a GR relating back to 1999. So I think doing that would actually solve most of our problems. How does one different service sector and the manufacturing sector? So we are different by the crux of it. We both deal in commodities, but the hospitality sector deals in the most perishable commodity, that is room rates or rooms and bookings of hotels and also bookings of tables. Once this booking or this room is gone, you cannot sell it resell it. In manufacturing sector, the goods can be kept back and resold sometime later. Unfortunately, in our sector, it cannot be done. So that's how we need to see it. That's why deference does not work, waiver does, and that's what we've been batting on. So we all know this is the time to press the reset button for hospitality, and not only are we going to today, my friends, going to give you our problems, but we are also going to offer you solutions, which I think which should be really appreciated. We don't want to come to you only with problems. You have enough of your own. with so many other things to handle. So we're giving you solutions today. And we want to tell you that we are the friend of the government also. When we are offering you solutions, we are not trying to reduce your the coffers so that only one it should not be a financial disaster. So that's why we offer you solutions. What now we are looking at is long haul travel is not going to be such a it's not going to be seen in the near future. So we need to concentrate on the 22 million outbound tourists, how to contain them inside, what Maharashtra, what we as Maharashtrians and what we as a state can offer to those tourists so that they get attracted to come to us. Now our competition will not be with neighboring countries, it'll be with neighboring states. We will be competing very healthily because it will stay within the country. We will be competing not with a Vietnam or a Sri Lanka, but with probably a Goa or with a Chhattisgarh or with an MP. That is what we want to inculcate, and we want healthy competition to thrive. And how we want to see how we can get that man, that tourist who's traveling all over India now, to spend that one extra day or 2 extra days in our beautiful state. With that, I'll take you over to Jimmy. Could you please introduce the panel? Thank you. Let me first introduce Jimmy. I'm really sorry, Jimmy. This is Jimmy Mystery. He's well known to everybody. He needs no introduction. The CMD of Della Resorts, very celebrated designer, architect, everything, all in one. Jimmy, please take over. Thank you.
Gogi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Aditya Thackeray, Mr. Aditya Thackeray doesn't need an introduction, but he's somebody I'm personally fond of. Proud of having a politician, young, dynamic, one of the youngest ministers in the country. What I love about him is he's always positive-minded. He's always bubbling with energy and bubbling with ideas. It's always a pleasure to meet him because every single idea that you suggest across, he receives it, applies his mind, discusses it again. He's engaged. He's somebody who's traveled globally enough, and yet he's grounded. He's in touch with reality on ground across in our state. Have been having meetings with our tourism minister for discussing a blueprint for Maharashtra tourism. This is way before COVID happened. And me and Siddesh Kadam, we've been having a small committee of people together where we are trying to prepare a blueprint for Maharashtra tourism. And it is his vision to put Maharashtra as a quality tourism destination in the country. This is all before COVID. And we are putting a blueprint together with the finest consultants that we could lay our hands on so that we could come up with a firm blueprint and plan for Maharashtra tourism. Those plans are still on, and we've come up with a Black Swan event right now. Fantastic involvement from our minister, young minister over here, to handle this crisis and the scenario. He's hands-on every single minute of the day, handling the crisis and still dealing with all the pressures at this young age. Aditya, I would love that you express to the association your plans and what is it that we can do as Maharashtra government for the association and the members who are really in trouble, including me.
Thank you all for having me in this webinar. And I see, it's about 800 participants and all of us as a panel. And I count me as one of you because, most of you I've known for a long time, at least 25 years in my lifetime. And I'm 29, just about turning 30 next month. So I've known most of you for a lifetime now. Jimmy, I would want to know where your, immaculate haircut and, is coming from, because all of us are wondering, how do we get groomed in this whole lockdown? But thank you once again, and it's a pleasure to be here interacting with all of you. I know these are times which are of not just sustaining pain, but not even being able to voice it out, because everyone around the world is sustaining some pain or the other around the world. To put things into perspective, the world is in a lockdown. Most of the countries are in a lockdown. Those who tried to open it up, be it Singapore, be it a couple of more countries, have gone back into lockdown, and countries that really opened it up. I remember Brazil, the president of Brazil opening it up, and now the situation there looks really bad. So yes, this is a situation that the world is in a lockdown, a country is in a lockdown, state, city, our building, housing societies, all of us are under curfew. And to be very honest, I've been interacting with a lot of doctors around the world, intensivists, scientists, foundations around the world that work globally, and no one really has the answer to the question about, how do we grapple with this thing. You must have heard the chief minister right now as well, when he was expressing his opinion on when people say that we need to learn to live with corona. How do we live with corona? Would corona let us live with it, is a major question. And again, the question comes down to really is, you might take it as a pun, but really, when do things open up? When do we find a vaccine? When do we find a cure? How do we live with it? The word is who knows. And who knows is obviously WHO knows, so World Health Organization. But Jimmy, if you remember, last year before elections, and it was before I became a minister, I even dreamt of becoming a minister and taking over the portfolio of tourism. And before it was my choice to take over the the portfolio of tourism and travel, we had a long discussion at Della, and you and I were standing and walking around till about 4 o'clock in the morning like
Yes.
crazy birds. And we were just roaming around talking about revival of tourism in Maharashtra and how we could make Maharashtra a state that really depends on tourism economically, creates jobs, creates an entire state that runs on tourism. Keeping to my promise, after that, some of you attended the first, not a conference exactly, but like um, you could say a mind thought collaboration where all of us sat together at Sayadri Guest House, and I asked you to be a part of my team and meet to make me a part of your team to take Maharashtra ahead, and in that terms, in terms of tourism. So we had multiple meetings with the hotel industry, with the restaurants industry, the service sector that really indulges in this industry, plus travel and tourism associations and agencies that take us to the world and bring the world to us. So obviously we've done a lot of those things. We had a lot of good suggestions. Taking further which, of course, we implemented the 24/7, Mumbai 24/7 plan in Mumbai. The Mumbai rooftop plan was brought in about 3 years ago. So all of these things were happening. Again, a couple of things that were pending for a long, long time. For example, there were these two hotels in Sindhudurg, one of which was approved within the first month of me taking over as a minister, and that was pending for almost 10 years now. So that was approved. The other hotel was, almost approved. So all of these things were going on, and we went into the budget session of the government of Maharashtra, and probably the single largest budget allocation for tourism was done this year. So Mumbai got 1,500 crores separately. The rest of Maharashtra got a good budget. And obviously, when these things were on, we've got into a situation which is a global pandemic, really, which is the coronavirus, COVID-19. Now, there are questions about, when do we exit from a lockdown? How do we exit from a lockdown? Do we really exit right now? Like I said, what is really the exit strategy for that? What is the timeline for an exit? Would things revive, come back to normal after this? And these are questions for all of us to keep grappling with, keep wrapping our minds along with. But the point is, one thing I really need to thank all of you, and thank you from the bottom of my heart and be really grateful, is almost every hotel in Maharashtra, not just Mumbai, but in Maharashtra that I know of, every restaurant, every sector that I know of, has formally and informally helped the government of Maharashtra to house people, right from people coming into quarantine to our nurses, our doctors, police, medical staff, frontline workers. And I have to be really grateful to all of you for helping us with that. You've been very, very generous and very, very brave in terms of stepping forward and helping in times of needs. And I know that there's a lot of investment for all of you in this. There's a lot of probably losses. I wouldn't say a social loss, because you've made a social profit and surplus, because all of us have started trusting each other much more. The frontline workers have been grateful to you, their families have been grateful to you. But yes, economically, we've taken a hit, and a hard hit that way. Exit, yes, in the green zones of Maharashtra, we've started almost 50,000 industries, about 5 lakh of the labor has got back to work. But these green zones, orange zones, red zones keep fluctuating because of the number of cases that keep rising and dipping. And this is a phenomena we've seen around the world. Like Singapore is one example. It opened up and then closed down till June to be a circuit breaker. So these are things that we're really, trying to counter. And green zones, orange zones, even though they keep fluctuating, the fact is, even though manufacturing industry is, got back probably, in at least full scale in certain areas, if not all, IT sector, banking, all of that is probably getting back to normal in most of the zones. The fact of the matter is, our travel and tourism industry, our hotel industry, a restaurant industry, that is something that will take probably some time to get back on its feet. Would travel revive? Would international travel revive? Would interstate travel revive? That is a question for all of us to really figure out, because as going by human tendency, we're all waiting for that one moment in our history, because this is something that the world has never seen before. I don't remember being a history student, any moment in the world, be it the two great world wars, be it any epidemic in the world, we haven't come as the world to a moment of pause and lockdown like we have come today for such a long time, and in such an indefinite manner. Everything is in suspended animation. We don't know what will happen, what next. We don't even know where the virus is, around us, because it's such an invisible enemy. While respecting the enemy and fighting it together, we don't know a timeline as the world or the human race. We're waiting for that one defining moment where a scientist somewhere in the world will say, yes, I have found the cure. That moment will be defining for all of us, because again, going by the tendency of the human race, we have seen things come back to normal, be it the Great Depression of the 1930s, be it the world wars, be it the depression as close as 2008, 2009. We have come back to normal as the human race, and that is the spirit of human race. I think that is the fighting spirit. But to come back to that normal, would the travel and tourism industry sustain till that moment? And that, I think, is the question all of us are asking each other today. For that, let me tell you very honestly, I know that the 2 lakh crore package, I don't know how much is in there for the tourism industry and the hotel
No.
industry. I don't think there's anything
Nothing.
as yet
Nothing.
declared by the center, and I'm obviously going to write to the center for that. But having said that, I know that Maharashtra has a great scope ahead as a state for all of us, not just in hotels and food and beverage industry, but as a travel and tourism industry as well. So obviously everything comes in together as a package. I see all of us as together, because when we have to take the government ahead, when we have to take the state ahead, pitch it to the world, there are so many countries that come to us and pitch their countries to us. Will international travel start before December? Personally, I doubt it. I don't know. Before that, it may. Why we do this, I really want to pitch this, because Gurbakshi, I've been receiving your emails, like I told you, and there are certain very, very prominent and pertinent suggestions in that. The only reason we haven't really declared any major packages government of Maharashtra as yet is because we are fighting a battle at the forefront. As the state of Maharashtra, every single digit of us, every single number of us, every single case of us, every single effort of us is open, accountable, and transparent. We are not hiding a single figure. We're not claiming we're corona free. We're not claiming that we've won the battle, because this is a battle that will be long drawn. But while we fight the battle, we have to look at our economic, sustenance as well. Having said that, I'm really, really keen that Maharashtra is the first state that will declare something promising and deliver on that something promising for all of us together in this. Because when I say all of us, as a minister, I am a part of all of you, and as a team, we move ahead. So obviously, I would want to establish a task force, and in that task force, it's not we and you. It is not going to be the government and you. You will be an equal voice in that, and that is what I really want, because we have to take things ahead. We have to revive very, very quickly. We have to take this thing of our entire sector ahead. Like you said, as an industry, we have got the tag as the industry, but we are not recognized as an industry. How do we work with other sectors closely in that? So obviously, I would suggest that the task force we have made for the state and its economic revival, we have Mr. Deepak Parekh in it, we have Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar in it, we have a couple of more people around from finance sector, PE sector, all of these people in that. I would like us to create one document which we can present to them, and they can really work with us in sync, so that they can say, okay, this is doable right now, this is doable in the medium term, this is doable in the long term but foreseeable future. I think these are things we could really work on. Some might be things we could really waive off. Some might be things where we give you a sustenance package. Some might be things where all of us pitch our state to the world and make it more active. I think the first and foremost thing we would need to ensure is safe travel, because safety is going to be a major concern in terms of health. And when we talk of safety, the first thing that comes to my mind is being transparent with our numbers, which the state is already doing. How do we take care and caution in a post-corona world is something up to us. Now, there are obviously two choices that the human race will go on to. One is going back to normal, like we saw when a couple of shops were opened up, we actually all crowded there without thinking of corona. The other is a post-COVID world. Like I always say in different meetings now or webinars now, that 9/11 actually changed the entire perspective of the world in terms of travel and tourism, and especially the aviation sector and security. Corona is equally a defining moment. We will be hopefully changing our habits, our civic sense, our discipline, our sense of hygiene, our sense of living in that sense. Now, I was reading just the other day an incident where the Prime Minister of New Zealand entered a cafe and she did not have space because a cafe which had actually more seats than usual had been reduced to a post-corona world cafe where you had limited seats and with social distancing. So these are things we're going to adjust to, or we'll have to adjust to. Spaces are small in Mumbai, spaces are smaller in Maharashtra, seats are even lesser. How do we adjust to a post-corona world is something we'll have to all put our minds together and work together, because none of us are, I can't say that any of us can really predict of how the world will move ahead. Neither am I the wisest out here. And probably we don't have we don't have soothsayers in our group out here right now. But how do we move ahead is something that our best effort could really put together and move ahead. So like I said, let's put together a group and let's work as one united team. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure listening to you, and at least some ray of hope for the industry that has been so far thus neglected by the center. And I'm sure the industry members have a lot of questions to ask from you. Without wasting time, I would go to legendary Mr. Vivek Nair, Chairman and Managing Director of Leela Group. Sir, could you please speak up?
Aditya, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. We have put together about 5-6 points, which are basically low-hanging fruit, which can be easily implemented. The first one is that we request that the electricity charges be based on actual consumption. As you know, most hotels are not, or all the hotels are not operational, and we have skeletal staff of 40-50 people to take care of the plant room, housekeeping, etc. We pressurized Adani Electricity to give us on actual tariff, and they've done that for the last 2 months. But I understand the BSES, which comes under the BEST, which comes under the MCGM's purview, they're still charging on the demand contracted rate. So if we can have that done, it's only fair that you pay for what you consume, just like Adani has done. So that's something which we hope you can have that executed. And the second thing is that yes, the GR Mr. Gurinder Singh mentioned was on 7th August 1999. I still remember Mr. Vilasrao Deshmukh was our chief minister, and he also held tourism. In fact, he was quite fond of tourism, and he encouraged us hotels and development in that field. So that clearly mentioned that based on the request of the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, to the states and UPs, we would like to extend the benefit of industrial rates for hotels, tourism, and 20 other related activities. And the last line they mentioned that the detailed circular would be out shortly. What exactly are the benefits? Unfortunately, ever since then, we have been clamoring with every CM and finance minister to spell that out, but till today, it's not been done so far.
This is from 7th August 1999, right?
7th August 1999. There's a very bit. I've given her copies of it also.
Sure.
And since the GR is issued, I don't know what the next step would be, taken to the cabinet, or I don't know what's to be done. But the first step towards issuing the GR has been done already. So we request you to kindly adopt that. So automatically we are treated as an industry, and industrial rates apply to us. Because right now we are commercial and we come under the Shops and Establishment Act.
Okay.
The other thing is that at present, electricity duty is charged at the rate of 21%. And under the same recommendation of the Ministry of Tourism, Goa abolished electricity duty for power and water. And since then, 1999, hotels in Goa have been enjoying power and water without the duty. So we request that that same be done here. All over the years, we have been taking it up with the Regulatory Commission, and they say, but some of the ex-chairmen say this is the right time to take it because a 21% surcharge on the actual tariff would be a huge amount of saving. So we are asking for these things so that our immediate problems are solved to meet the salary of next month. In fact, we could not pay the salary of April, and I got a message that at least pay 15 days salary. Quite a number of us have not been able to fully pay the April salaries. So it's extremely horrendous time for us. And these 4 or 5 measures will not burden the government too much. And even the property tax, we request you to defer it by 9 months to 12 months so that we don't have to pay that. And whatever money we save, we can pay salaries and wages. So on the property tax issue, I led a delegation of the executive committee to meet your father about 5 years ago because Maharashtra government decided to charge property tax on the basis of a star category. In fact, if you have 5-star deluxe, you're charged a maximum rate, 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, so forth. So all other states have different criteria for charging property tax and not the star category. So we said that if that's the case, we don't want this category. It's categorization from the Ministry of Tourism. You know, the hotels are sold, marketed based on their own standing. And so the Ministry of Tourism was taken aback. And they said, no, we don't want you to give up our classification process. So if that can be streamlined, we'll be grateful for that. And then the working capital requirements, the finance minister has said that we approach the existing bankers or other bankers who can give us additional limits without any additional security. So the Maharashtra government has CCOM and other agencies, and these amounts are very small if you look at capital requirements. So if something can be done to advise them to look at our industry and avail of that additional more working capital. The other point was the restaurant. Once we open, we have open spaces outside the restaurant, which is open to where we have a canopy or something like that. That could be permitted to be utilized, so that is, it's not a contained area, and it could increase the capacity when you have to leave social distancing. These are just the 6 points which we request can be looked into by.
Right. So if actually noted this down, I'll also take your email and start working on it right away because some of these points are actually doable. And like I said, if you could also attach some of the best practices around the world or across India as well, wherever you think that these things are already in motion and where we can actually implement them and benefit out of it, I think that is something we could really start moving on.
Goa is a good example. So very tourism friendly.
Thank you, sir. I would like to invite Mr. Sanjay Shetty, who's Chalet Hotels CEO and JW Marriott. Sanjay, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Thackeray, for spending time with us. It was a pleasure meeting you at the Sayadri Guest House last time around. We had some really encouraging conversations with you, especially around the development of Mumbai as a tourist-friendly city, and we really look forward to that development once things settle down post-COVID. Mr. Nair has covered, most of the conversation points that I wanted to cover, which were around this whole industry status that the industry must get. So we're a declared industry, and I think I mentioned this in our meeting as a guest also. But for several years, we've not been getting the benefits of the industry. And it's critical that if we have been declared industry, we should get the benefits. And I think the 2 critical points around there include the cost of electricity, which is the second largest cost, first being wages cost. And the other cost is the property tax. So, if we can work around these 2 things, it'll be a huge help. Because the last thing you want to do is work on the wages side, because that hurts employment. So these are the 2 that we would request you to work on. Very importantly, Mr. Thackeray, I do want to draw your attention. I think you've spoken a lot about tourism and travel in the state. We must not forget that the largest traffic that comes into Maharashtra, especially the one that contributes the most to the exchequer, is the business traveler. Mumbai and Pune get a lot of business travel. Mumbai alone has, as per the FHRAI numbers, 24,500 odd rooms registered right now. Add to that another twice that number, so that's about 50,000 rooms roughly around there. The amount of employment they create and the amount of traffic that they get in that creates value for the exchequer is humongous. And we cannot afford to ignore that segment, which is the business traveler segment. So whilst we promote leisure travel, and I think that's important because we've got some great opportunities on our coast, etc., in the hills, we must, as a state, promote business travel for city. We must not forget this is the business or the financial capital of the country, and we must continue to promote this as a financial capital.
That's a core competency. So we cannot obviously leave that. So that we have to, when we speak about tourism, that's beyond the business. But of course, business is the core, and we cannot leave that. So that is going to be a.
So I would urge you to please help us promote business tourism also.
Right.
Aditya, one important point I missed out. The excise increase, the fee increase has taken place on 1st April, and we requested Valsa and others in the ministry, and she said, I'm helpless. But at this point, to increase the fee by 15%, would be really disastrous. So I would like you to have that roll back and not pay the entire year's fee upfront now at this critical time when we already have so many other cash flow issues.
Thank you, sir. Would like to invite Mr. Pradeep Shetty. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add to what Mr. Nair just said. Insofar as the excise license fee issued, the main concern is that we've already lost. These fees are typically paid in advance for the coming year, and we've typically so far lost 55 days of business. Now this is not only pertaining to a big hotel; it translates to the smallest restaurant or a bar in a small town or in a Mofussil area also. They have lost 55 to 60 days, and the way things are going, in-dining is not going to be possible for some time now. Now, so long as in-dining is not going to be possible, there is going to be no possibility of a sale of liquor in a restaurant. There are two aspects to it. One is that there must be some pro rata reduction in fees, because there are big hotels, there are small hotels, there are very, very small bars all across Maharashtra who are severely affected and whose livelihoods depend on this. The second aspect is that now there is an active restriction on sale of alcohol by way of a takeaway from a restaurant. Now, this is an excise restriction, which now other states have done away with under the disaster management. So what we are saying is that there is so much of stock available, which is like locked up capital. And there is perishable stock also, which is as the day goes by, there are crores of stock which are getting spoiled. So there can be an enabling provision under the disaster management. Allow if a takeaway, because in-room dining is not going to come back. So if that can be allowed, pro rata reduction can be allowed, and the department asking a small restaurateur from any part of the state to pay the entire 8 lakh fees or 6 lakhs or 5 lakhs in advance at a time when he's completely shut down. He has zero business. He has his own people to take care, is something which is really troubling everyone. So we'd really urge you and humbly request you to look into this aspect. This will really help a lot of people across the state. There are about 18,000 to 20,000 licenses, and which of course translate into some 15 employee per establishment. So it has a lot of multiplier effect on that. So this is insofar as the excise license. The other aspect is that of MSME, which we wanted to take up with you. Now with the center, the only one thing which we can hang on to is some benefits to an MSME. Now MSME typically covers the service sector, but for a service sector, there are no subsidies available under the Act itself. So again, we use, resorting to this disaster management, if those subsidies which are otherwise available only to manufacturing sector could be extended to hotels and restaurants also, that would really help us to avail of that one benefit which is now announced by the center, in terms of borrowing some kind of money to take care of the existing loans, etc. So that's another aspect if the state can explore, which would really help a small restaurateur who has invested some amount of money. What we are looking at is that the restaurant industry prior to COVID was growing at almost 10 to 12% in our state, and in Mumbai it was growing exponentially.
Yeah.
So there is a huge investment which has come in the bar segment, in the restaurant segment, and all of them have gone to zero.
Suddenly gone bust here. So
So there is an enormous cry in that sector. There is huge employment in that sector, huge money which is invested. So there is, again, when we break down this segment, there is the element of rentals which are coming in. So if the government can step in and rationalize the rentals in the city somehow, so it will be some ray of hope for restarting some operation. Otherwise, in the current scenario, with the limitation in the seating capacity and the restriction in the operation, it is going to be virtually impossible for anybody to open. not allowing these people to open or even do any business means it has a cascading effect on owners, investment, capital, and thousands of employees who are engaged in this trade. So that's another thing. And then there are huge loans, which one of our other panels will take up gains up on how loans have a great effect on it and how restructuring and all of that is going to help us. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shetty. I would like to invite Mr. Dilip Datwani, Chairman Datwani Hotels.
Hi, good evening, Aditya ji.
Good
I
evening.
think most of the points they have taken, just Mr. Nair mentioned about the open spaces in front of the restaurant in the hotel. We already have permission for in front of the premises. We can serve over there with a license, but on the side we had requested also, on the side we have open spaces which could be used also. Since now there's going to be a lot of spacing, distancing, so we may need this benefit. If you could look into it, it is doable.
This is something in the plan to make Mumbai, Pune, Thane more vibrant. In terms of
Right.
spaces, innovative spaces around canopies
Correct.
and things like that. So obviously that was in the initial plan, but we would have to execute it with whenever we start.
And another thing also is about the excise. The number of days which we are going to work. So pro rata, if it could be done, and it's not a big amount, sir. It's just going to be 2% of the collection in excise. So only it looks like they make it so big. It is just 2%. So if a benefit could be given only on pro rata basis, maybe we are closed for 4 months or 5 months, that it should be looked into.
Sure.
And property taxes also, if a waiver could be given, with a caveat for the landlords that they should also, look into giving the benefit, pass the benefit on to the rental people, the lessees. So people who've got restaurants on rent, at least they can get some benefit from the landlords. That's it, sir. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I just come in for a minute? I'll just elaborate a little bit, Mr. Thackeray, on the open space, which Mr. Datwani and Mr. Nair also specified. Actually, archaic laws, age-old and antiquated laws prevent us from using a lot of open space in Mumbai, which is actually a luxury to have an open space. Even the advisories from the BMC, etc., now during the COVID times was given that kindly, if you can, before the lockdown, that if you can seating in the open spaces, it would be much better. So we know that social distancing norms will come in, our capacities will go down, the restaurant capacity.
I think
Yeah, we've lost. Yeah. Gogi, we lost you. Okay, whilst Gogi
also increase our open space, as well as we would quantify the some loss in space that we'd be having.
No, Gurbakshi, let's work on two clear agendas. One is like Vivekji was also saying that basically how do we sustain this lockdown period and how do we come out of it is one thing. And like the other thing we were talking about, say rooftop and open spaces and things like that, which we had put things into the tunnel for actually growth and revival of the entire industry, or like making it more modern in that sense of making it more acceptable to the world and global tourism. So this is the other thing. So we could work on two parallel documents side by side, and let's see how we take things ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I would request Mr. SP Jain, Chairman of Pride Group of Hotels, to speak up, please.
Yeah. Aditya, thank you very much for recognizing the contribution of hospitality sector, as we are always providing facility to doctor, quarantines, and even distributing the food to the poor and needy people. And we are always with government to contribute as and where it is required. We are always with you and the entire government to support. My request is, I want to give you one request, where government of Maharashtra do not lose anything, and even industry gets some benefit of working capital, they save some money. Electricity, all the state has allowed to buy from solar or wind power. Government of Maharashtra has a rule, you can only buy if your requirement is more than 1 megawatt.
Yes. Yeah.
So even 150 room or 200 room hotel don't have that much requirement. And government doesn't allow to contribute to hotels. Suppose I have in Pune and Nagpur and I submitted proposal, you treat one company. They say no, on one place you should have that requirement. So sir, if you allow this to buy from outside, then government of Maharashtra doesn't lose, electricity board doesn't lose any money, and industry get benefit to survive.
The open
And
access.
they are easily available. And all other states are allowing. Tamil Nadu, Delhi, even Gujarat, and all the states are allowed.
I was actually working on that policy through the Environment Ministry, but right after this, we'll have to speed it up because again, renewable energy is something that we need to really look at for establishments as big as us. So.
Yeah, and that is the future of life. So it is always in favor of the. Secondly, sir, everybody is contributing. The one more important point I want to put in your knowledge, that ESI contribution, what we are collecting money from employee and contributing by employee. Actually, with this money to be given to employees when they are sitting at home and they are not getting resources. So at least some kind of contribution should come from this money and given to the employees who have been year together has contributed the money. So this is the time, because that is like an insurance to them. When they cannot work, they cannot go to the work, they should get some. And some of the company are not able to pay the money. Of course, we are all top company, we are trying to give them full salary and all that we are trying, but we don't know how long we can sustain like this. So that point also, if government take up, I am sure this will be beneficial to the worker, because you are well aware that we are highest employment provider, directly and indirectly, and all study has shown our each room provide 50 to 53 people employment directly, indirectly. So you have to make us to survive to provide this and contribute to state government for exchequer also. I am sure something. You are very dynamic and young and capable. I am sure when you will put the things today, Uddhavji has given very good. His live telecast was there, very good point and very highly appreciate to him. And it is the biggest challenge. State of Maharashtra is a big state. Bombay is the biggest challenge, a very highly thickly populated density of the main people staying here. And I'm sure we all are with you to make sure short success. And we will win the game, this fight against Corona.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Jain Saab, thank you for being so positive. We need some positivity right now within the industry. I would request Mr. Param Kanapalli from Phone Groups, the chairman of Phone Group of Hotels.
Honorable Minister, I've got 2 points which I want to make. One is under the ESIC Act, okay, if an employee is unemployed who's an ESIC member, he can be paid by them. And there's about 90,000 crores lying with them. And if you can put people into looking into that, workers' salaries can come from that. No one needs to starve in Maharashtra. Secondly, as Gogi had said earlier, tourism, domestic tourism is going to be our next big challenge. International tourists are not going to be coming in huge droves. And Maharashtra right now is somewhere on 6th on a list of 7. And Chennai is on number 1. And there are others along the way. But we are so down.
Yes.
And if we focus the tourism effort towards domestic tourism and give some benefit to the domestic tourism in terms of maybe GST, like Jaipur has done, SGST is no longer payable to the government. Today, Mamata Banerjee has announced that hotels can be open because the automatic social distancing is taking place. Why are we keeping closed? For what? The faster we get on the move, the faster the state will improve and everything will come better. Thank you. That's what I have to say.
Would request Mr. Atul Bhalla from ITC Hotels.
Good evening, Aditya ji. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us this opportunity to interact with you. Most of the points have been covered by all of us. I just wanted to laud the government the way you are fighting this battle and so transparent in your dealings. So that's very clear, and I'm sure together we will come back to a new normal. Obviously, it's going to be a new normal. We need to, like you said, we need to learn to live with post-COVID. A lot of things are going to change. and we will change the way we do our business. And looking forward to, I'm very positive about that. When we come back, we'll come back with a great force, and especially the domestic tourism, which is 26 million tourists, which goes out of the country, which how much we can hold in Maharashtra. That is what is going to be our challenge with us. And I think together with the industry, we are really going to fight for it and make sure that Maharashtra, apart from the business travel, even grows on the tourism front. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And ITC also helped us a lot with the food packets and all that. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Last but not the least, it's me. I do have a few points across.
Points after the 4 o'clock talk.
No, on a serious note, it is my guesstimation, and I hope I'm wrong. I am happy the industry is together. More than 50% of the restaurants will find it impossible to open their shutters if things continue this way. It's a serious note. We have not been able to pay the March salaries. We were very, very hopeful when the center announced and a whole scheme for the country. We were very hopeful that at least one restructure would be allowed to hospitality industry. Today, we are in a catch-22 situation. Either which ways, we'll have to approach the bankers to go in for a restructure. However, in that restructure, we are not knowing where we stand, whether electricity is going to be allowed on a law of averages, which is huge, or on actual consumption, whether the property tax will be eliminated. In terms of employees, I do not know, the people are not able to put it on a common platform, but I'm sure within closed doors, people are talking about laying off at least 50% of the employees. Somebody is at 30%, somebody is at 40%, somebody is at 50%. And believe you me, even at 50%, it is not going to be possible to run large properties which are more than 200 rooms. Because we do not know what lies in the next 6 months. The bankers want us to put up a proposal. What is going to be the burn each month? We are not, as owners, in a condition or capacity to calculate this burn. And it is putting our employees in an absolute no man's land. People like us who love our people, but we are not in a capacity to tell them what lies in the future for them. It is my humble request and sincere request to you, whatever can be done to sustain this industry, because if we sustain the darkest era, next 3 months to 6 months, then we will manage somehow and pull through together. But this period of 6 months is where we need maximum leverage and a long rope that can be provided. I know within your ambit, what comes within the state government, you will go all out and do it. There are certain things that we are dependent on the center where we'll have to fight for it. But with you as a leader, we are quite hopeful. We have one ray of hope, which is you. And I really, really sincerely wish that you go all out and help our industry.
Jimmy, can I have 2 minutes to sum up?
Yes, sir.
I got some positive news. I've always been a born optimist, like my father. So we believe that by August, if the worst is over, the domestic tourism can easily come to our rescue. So August, September, October, November, and Goa, I mean, unfortunately, Maharashtra doesn't have any foreign charter business. But in Goa, December onwards till mid-April, we used to have almost 90% occupancy. And the good news I get from my general manager there is that the booking so far is about 30% higher than the same period last year, which is really encouraging. And people from
Mr. Sridhar?
Pardon?
That's from Mr. Sridhar in Goa?
Yes, Sridhar, yes. Because they keep a tab on the bookings, and that's corroborated by travel cook, Mr. Menon and Sita, Arjun Sharma. So if that happens, then it's I think the worst will be over. And even if we do about 40-50% instead of the 60-70 we do in the off season, at least we will have enough money to pay our salaries. I'm not so despondent as some of us are.
No, absolutely. And all of you said that these are some of the things we could really start off with. And if Mr. Nair is being positive, and that's a great sign, because he knows the industry in and out. And if we've known the family for a long time, he's known me since I was very, very young. But the point is, I think this is something that we have to do together, put in a massive effort to get our industry back on track. Traveling around the world, seeing different hotels around the world, I think our industry and our service ethics, our ethos, the way we serve the people and are warm to the people around the world, I think our hotel sector is probably one of the best in the world. There can be no competition in terms of warmth and service if, compared to India. I think this is going to be a task for all of us to achieve, to stand back on our 2 feet and, go to the world saying, we're here, we're open for you, we're safe, and we're ready to get the tourists back, be it business travelers, be it those who stay in our city for 3 days, for 36 hours, or even for a longer time in our state, which we want to develop as a tourism positive state. So I think, just to sum it up, let me tell you that I'm going to be here with you shoulder to shoulder. And if need be, we can all be standing on a road across, any city in the world and get people to our city and stay in our hotels and use our facilities as tourism and as business travelers. So I think that is the spirit we should get together with and fight this battle.
Thank you.
We have quick questions. There are one or
Yeah,
two questions around.
Yeah, we can take one or two questions. Aditya, are you fine with it?
Yeah,
Can we take a few questions? Great.
Yeah.
Can I put one?
I've actually been
Yes,
putting
sorry.
questions.
So Jimmy, can I put one? I have one question which has come from the Aurangabad Hotel and Restaurant Association, and they are saying that Marathwada has seen drought in 2017. Then there were some 8 riots in 2018, and 19 again was declared a drought. And they're saying that although Aurangabad was declared as the tourist the capital of Maharashtra, but it's actually seen a degrowth. There are flights which have been cut off coming into Aurangabad. There are 2 World Heritage sites. Sorry.
Going deeply into that situation, because of course we have some of the most beautiful heritage sites around it, not just the city, but about even an hour or so. So obviously there are a couple of things we need to really focus, and that is first, of course, along with pitching it to the world. I met a couple of Japanese delegations also, because they are very, very keen to go to Aurangabad and use it as a tourism center. But the point is, of course, the basic infrastructure needed a little overhaul, which we started looking into, be it the roads of the city, or I've been closely coordinating with Mr. Astik Pandey, who's the municipal commissioner, and we've given a good package for the roads, which had started off since December, January, and the chief minister also visited it personally. Along with that, connecting the tourism sites, we had started relaying the roads. We had also started tourism buses, and obviously with Jet Airways not being operational, the flights had gone down, but we were hoping, and we are really hoping that the sector starts off again. We will be looking into the airport and its vicinity. We have also drafted a policy. It's not yet concretized because we got into COVID situation, but most airports, be it Shirdi, be it Aurangabad, be it Kolhapur, wherever we can develop tourism, be it agro-tourism, be it spiritual tourism, be it heritage tourism, we were moving this, and we will move into this plan where the tourism department actually collaborates with the aviation sector and the airports to build even airports in a way that bring you into that space of tourism. So that is something we look at very, very, in a very.
Thanks.
Go on, Sanjay. Sanjay, please go on.
Yeah, I have, Mr. Thackeray, a couple of points. I also am the convener for the CII Tourism Committee for Maharashtra. And a lot of the members in that committee have been sort of saying, listen, we need to promote other cities besides Mumbai. Yes. And we just spoke about Aurangabad as one. Nagpur is the other one that comes up frequently. And the wine country of Maharashtra, the Nasik belt that is there, I think that can be a great opportunity to bring in some very niche but upmarket tourism into the state also. I think that's an area that we can work on. Early on in the conversation, we'd spoken about, you creating a sort of a task force.
Yeah.
And I think we discussed at the Esi guest house also at that point of time, that if we can get a representation of the community, the hospitality committee and the task force, it would really help us work and coordinate things a lot more efficiently. So that's just a request if we can get that going, please.
I'll put that on. I'll get that.
Sanjay, we are under
travelers of all kinds. We need travelers who can really spend. We need travelers who are budget travelers. We need travelers who spend at least 36 hours, in the city. If they're business travelers going around, you come to a city like Mumbai for work or a hop over flight. What do you do in a city like us? We need to develop these sectors also. Plus, the entire belt of Raigad, Ratnagiri, Sindhudurg, we are planning a coastal road, and along with that, I've been very keen, and I had pitched to all of you in our first meeting about hotels in that vicinity as well. Plus, we're looking at a JV and a PP, public-private partnership with the MTDC. So these are things we're really keen to move ahead with. Of course, these things would also be dependent highly on how flights start, how interstate travel starts, how intrastate travel starts, and how much, is our capacity to actually build on these things. So these are some things that we have planned, but to reach that goal, we have to start working together. So that we'll do that together.
There's another question that's come that hotel staff from Konkan region are in Maharashtra stuck. Is there anything that we can do for them?
So that was addressed by the Chief Minister. Actually, one of the biggest concerns for us has been, and of course across India, has been migrant labor, not just from this sector, but every sector walking towards their home. Now, obviously, in a situation like a lockdown, the government of Maharashtra has used the CM Relief Fund to actually fund their journeys back home, plus give them state transport buses to at least go up to their borders. For within Maharashtra, be it Konkan, be it Kolhapur, we have been requesting them to, hold on a little bit. Of course, we are organizing in a phase-wise manner. We've already started organizing in a phase-wise manner and expediting the process to take them back home. But again, a place like Ratnagiri, which was in almost a green zone, has shot up in the last 3 days because people walk there. And of course, not every infection is because of this walking or moving towards the hometowns. But the bigger problem is a lot of villages have actually barred people from coming into their own hometowns or villages, and people who go from here to there remain stranded in between. So we have been requesting them to check with their own villages, with their own hometowns, whether quarantine facilities are available, home quarantine is available, and whether they have been allowed back home. So these are some of the logistical issues where, and it's not necessarily a bad thing that the villages have actually stopped people from coming back home. So like I guess Siddesh should be able to answer that. His native place also had gone into a lockdown and not allowed people to go back home. So these are some of the issues that we are facing with Konkan and other regions of Maharashtra.
Is there any other questions?
There's I think about 74 in our list, but most of them have been answered.
Yeah.
I've been monitoring them.
And there are many more, but we'll have to burn the midnight oil if we were to answer.
Ready to do that to get this industry back on its feet.
Jimmy, what?
Except for tourism, all over interior Maharashtra is very, very good. From Dapoli to Satara to Karad, Parbani, all we have hotels.
Yeah.
And it's very well accepted by those people. So promote it, it'll do well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jimmy, one last comment, please.
Yes, sir. Please go on.
The day after you took over, I mentioned the good news that the Ministry of Environment Forests have issued a notification that on select beaches in Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, of course, you can build up to the 50-meter line, on a case-by-case basis after examining the various parameters. So that's really opened up tourism. That with the Mopa airport coming up in Goa, the entire Sindhudurg district could be open within 45 minutes to 1 hour's drive from that airport. And as you know, Dabolim is so packed now. So I said we could put together a blueprint for a coastal resort zone can even exceed Goa's present arrivals.
So you'll be happy to hear that our tourism minister has already put together a policy for shacks across the coastal areas. I'm sure he'll elaborate further.
Excellent.
That is on, and that is where the dilemma lies. Half of me, which is the Minister of Environment, would be like, how am I doing this? But of course, taking all concern and all concern into and caution into action, I think we could really open up. One of the things we've done with the industries today, we've announced, the Chief Minister announced, is any new industry setting up in Maharashtra can do self-attestation about environmental permissions as long as it's a green industry. Likewise, with all of us, most of our hotels which are green, I know Leela for sure, because even all the lawns are actually watered with recycled water, and all of us, most of us, ITC is very responsible in terms of the green report. Every time I'm in an ITC room, I see it while traveling across. So I think most of our hotel industry is moving towards being sustainable and eco-friendly. So something like that in Maharashtra could be really workable. Especially Ratnagiri Airport, the airstrip was expanding. Chipi Airport would have been operational by May 1st had it been in normal circumstances. So that is something we're ready with. So Sindhudurg, Ratnagiri is something we're really ready with, raring to go. Raigad district, again, very close by both. We were starting the Ro-Ros had started. So all of these things we need to really look at. And I think whilst we work on this, project of sustenance and revival of the industry, I would probably be fast in coming to you and chasing all of you with a dossier saying this is what we want to do in Maharashtra. This is what we have done as government. Now please set up your hotels and take this industry forward. So let's see who wins the race.
That's lovely. Thank you for being here with us. There is a vote of thanks from Mr. Nirav Gandhi, FHRAI Executive Committee member. But really, Aditya, thank you. always a pleasure to listen to you, and you give us positive energy in these times when we really need help.
Being positive and saying that I am positive currently is not the best thing to do. You could say you're negative and be happy with that. Nonetheless,
It'll happen.
So.
Thank you. Thank
We'll
you.
make it happen.
Thank you.
Nirav.
Nirav, over to you.
Thank you, Aditya ji. Thank you so much for squeezing all your time. I know you were busy from 8 o'clock, but thank you for making it with us here and looking at all the Q&A. I think people are excited. A lot of positive views are coming in, and a lot of messages I'm receiving for just because you are here with us and giving us your ear to us and listen to us and make things happen. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you, Mr. Nair. Thank you, Mr. Jain. Sanjay, thank you so much. Atul, thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and apologies for the delay. And let's keep doing this and let's move forward every time we.
Thank you. We look forward to another one very soon.
Thank you, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya.
Good night.
Thank you, all the panelists. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.